The name is a whisper, a chilling note played in the dark theater of history. It's a name that has transcended fact and become a nightmare, a legend. Jack the Ripper. Over a century has passed, yet the shadow of this killer still looms over us. He was a phantom who stalked the gaslit, fog-shrouded streets of Victorian London, a predator who hunted the most vulnerable and then vanished into the mist like he was never there at all. But this story is not just about him. To truly understand the terror, we must first walk the streets he walked. We must understand the world that created him and the women whose lives he stole. This is not a ghost story. The horror was real. Welcome to Whitechapel, London, 1888. The heart of the largest empire the world has ever known. But here, there is no glory. There is only survival. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke, unwashed bodies, and cheap gin. The streets are a labyrinth of narrow, unlit alleyways where darkness is a constant companion. This is a place of desperate poverty, of workhouses and slums, where thousands are crammed into squalid lodging houses, paying a few pennies for a bed or even just a rope to lean on while they sleep. For the women here, life is a razor's edge. With little work available, many are forced into the shadows of street walking, selling their bodies for the price of a meal or a place to sleep. They are mothers, daughters, sisters. They are invisible to the polite society just a few miles away. And it is in this world of shadows and desperation that a new, unimaginable terror is about to be born. It begins on August 31st. A woman named Mary Ann Nichols is found dead in a dark lane. Her throat has been cut so violently she is nearly decapitated. The brutality is shocking, but in Whitechapel, murder is not unheard of. It is a tragedy, but one soon forgotten. Until 8 days later, the body of Annie Chapman is discovered in the backyard of a tenement house. The same savage throat wound. But this time, something is different. The killer has mutilated her body, removing her womb with a chilling surgical precision. Panic begins to spread. The newspapers, smelling a sensational story, dub the killer the Leather Apron. Scotland Yard is baffled. They are dealing with a new kind of murderer, one who kills not for gain, but for the act itself. He leaves no clues. He has no apparent motive. He is a phantom. Then comes the night of September 30th, the night that will forever be known as the double event. The killer's audacity escalates to a terrifying new level. In the space of 1 hour, he claims 2 more victims. First, Elizabeth Stride. Her body is found, throat cut, but the killer is apparently interrupted before he can mutilate her. The city is now on high alert. Police are swarming the streets. And yet, less than an hour later and only a few streets away, the body of Catherine Eddowes is found. This time, the killer has finished his gruesome work. Her body is horrifically mutilated, her kidney and a piece of her womb removed. Near the scene, police find a piece of her blood-stained apron, and above it, a cryptic message chalked on a wall. A message they wash away before it can be photographed, erasing a potential clue forever. It is around this time that a letter, signed with the mocking name Jack the Ripper, arrives at a news agency. It taunts the police and promises more to come. A city's panic has now found its boogeyman. The legend of Jack the Ripper is born. The final act of this tragedy is the most horrific of all. On November 9th, a rent collector knocks on the door of a young woman named Mary Jane Kelly. She is behind on her rent. Getting no answer, he peeks through a broken window pane. What he sees will haunt him for the rest of his life. The scene inside is not a murder, it is a butchering. Mary Kelly's body has been so savagely dismembered that she is barely recognizable as human. The killer had hours to work, uninterrupted, in the privacy of her small room. After this, the murders stop. As suddenly as he appeared, Jack the Ripper vanishes. The fog of Whitechapel swallows him whole, and he is never seen again. The hunt for the Ripper became the biggest manhunt in British history. Police interviewed thousands, investigated hundreds. Theories abounded. Was he a doctor with the surgical skill to perform such precise mutilations? Was he a madman, a religious fanatic? Was he a member of the royal family, protected by the establishment? Suspects were named a school teacher who committed suicide shortly after the last murder, a Polish immigrant who was sent to an asylum, a doctor with a dark history. But all the evidence was circumstantial. No charge was ever brought. The case was never closed. So why, after all this time, does the Ripper still hold such a grip on our imagination? Perhaps it is because the story is about more than just a killer. It's about the birth of the modern world. It was one of the first cases where the media played a central role, turning a man into a terrifying international celebrity. It marked the birth of criminal profiling, as police desperately tried to understand the mind of a killer they couldn't comprehend. But most of all, the story of Jack the Ripper is a dark mirror held up to society. It exposed the brutal reality of life for the poor and the invisible, and the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface of a so-called civilized world. The killer was never found, but the true identity of the monster was perhaps the city itself. Jack the Ripper was never a man of flesh and blood. He was, and remains, a ghost born from the fog and the fear of a city at war with itself. A story, a whisper, a nightmare that is never truly ended.